Welcome to the Startup Grind.
For those of you attending for the first time, Startup Grind is a global community of entrepreneurs. We are around 400,000 entrepreneurs globally in one community, and we run monthly interviews with successful entrepreneurs from local ecosystems. The main idea is actually to create values and to actually get to know each other, not just to exchange business cards, but really to help each other out. And that's why the concept is that we are moving from stakeholders in this ecosystem. We are very happy that today we are able to have this event directly at Martinus. So thank you for that as well.
Glad to having you.
Also, I would like to thank our partners who are making this event possible. That is KPMG. They're supporting us for the whole time. And also our media partners who let you guys probably know about this event. And they're making some great efforts to spread the word around. So, before we kick off with the first question, I would like to tell you that there is also Slido tonight. The hashtag is SUGBA, you can see on your left. So don't hesitate to ask questions. I will spare maybe 10 minutes at the end to use Slido. After the fireside chat, we will take around 45 minutes. We have some sandwiches and beers for you, so let's get the networking thing going on. All right. All right, Michal, so thanks again. I will kick off, as we usually do, with some background questions. I will go very, very back in time. And
All right.
I would like to know, so where you're from, and where did you grow up?
I'm originally from Martin, which is a city some 200 kilometers from Bratislava. I also grew up there, went to elementary school and 8-year high school there. And then when I was 18, I moved to Bratislava to go for my university studies. And, well, I've lived here ever since.
What did your parents do?
My parents still are doctors, both of them. And my father is also a university professor at the Faculty of Medicine in Martin. So, at the beginning, when I was like 5 or 6, I thought I would be a doctor, of course, but they were really successful in out-talking me out of it. So they actually directed me with different paths, but directed me to management and marketing area.
And so at high school, was it more kind of general? High school, like gymnasium or something more specific?
It was 8-year like gymnasium, but my focus was biology and chemistry, which was, as I wanted to be a doctor, that would be good thing to focus on. But after all, those subjects didn't go quite well with me. I mean, they were fine, but my heart was not too much into it.
So at the times of your high school, you actually came up with Referati.sk. For those who are not from Slovakia, it was a very famous and very popular portal for students how to hack your essays.
Yeah.
So I think I used it, and everybody in my age used it. So my question is, how did this idea? How did you come across this idea?
Well, I was lazy. That's an honest answer, I think. And I still remember I was age of 15 maybe, and at the end of the school year, we had to hand in those essays from the books we read, the compulsory reading. And of course, I didn't want to read Morho and stuff like that, so I tried to download it from internet. It took me like 2 hours to look the essays up, and I was like, in no way I'm going to spend 2 hours doing this. So I decided the next summer that I would just create a database where I could store those essays, and when the time comes, I would just print them out and hand them in.
Okay, did you, at a very early stage, did you kind of realize that what you're doing. Basically, you're building something that is a company or could be a company.
Well, frankly, I didn't realize that me and my co-founder, Michal Mesko, we founded our first startup and then also exited it a few years later. And I only realized it like 5 years later because those words were not sexy back in 2000 when we were like 15, 18 years old. So no, I didn't realize that back then. I still remember when we had our first 1,000 users on the site in a single day. I was like, wow, how on earth could 1,000 different people come to our site and use it? It was just beyond our dreams.
So then the website became actually pretty popular among students. What happened in the year 2004? Larger corporation approached you?
Yeah, basically I was at the first year at the university, and I was already involved in Martinus as well. I was doing referati. I was trying to study at the university. I had a girlfriend, and I just didn't have enough time to focus on all those things. And good offer came, and it wasn't that we would be actively looking for investor. It was like they approached us and asked whether we would be willing to talk about selling the site. It wasn't the first offer at all. There were many different offers before, but this one was the first one that was talking like serious, from our point of view, serious money. So that's why we reflected to it and talked, and in like 2 or 3 months we signed the papers.
This is already university time. This is your first year,
Yep.
right? And you went to study at University of Comenius University,
Yep. Faculty of Management.
Faculty of
Yep.
Management, and I mean, I don't think it's many students in their first year. You exit your project, right? So, what was the added value of the university?
For
So
overall,
overall, like if you compare, you already had experience.
Yeah, well, I didn't have that much experience in running the company. It was still just 2 of us. It was side project, so I wouldn't call referati even close to a company. It was like really, really good hobby for us and a side project. But I was already involved in Martinus. I was not running it back then. I was just I started it as a programmer, or I joined the guys who founded Martinus as a programmer. And in 2004, when I was in the first year, I didn't still have that much experience from running business, neither did I have experience from the school. But overall, I wouldn't change it in any way, because school gave me friends, school gave me some network, school gave me some shortcuts on the knowledge that I would definitely get to know doing business, but I didn't have to make that many mistakes. Maybe I did many of them. I also ignored some good advices from school, and I did those mistakes anyway, and now I know. But I don't think it's when sometimes it's sentiment like it's 5 years lost or something like that. I wouldn't agree at all. I mean, and it also gave me opportunity to go for a half year for Erasmus project to Netherlands, which was really amazing experience, both on personal side and student life side and academic side as well.
So then, what was the biggest kind of learning from referati? If you're saying that it was still very early stage, what was the biggest learning, biggest outcome?
I think in retrospect, I'm not sure that we realized that much, that if we would uphold it for some more time, the value could be like 10 times more, maybe. Maybe in just 2 years, if you would turn it into a little more serious business. Back then when we were selling it, we sold advertisement in total for all the time for 80,000 crowns, which is less than 3,000 euros for the whole 4 years of the project. So it was like nothing. And the website was like 10th most visited website in Slovakia back then. So it was quite successful. And from business side, I know that we could have earned way more if we waited for 1, 2, or 3 years. On the other hand, I never regretted that decision because it opened for me and my friend Michal Mesko, who was co-founded it with me and running it. It just opened our hands for different projects we wanted to do. So I could focus on Martinus, and he went on to his studies to Cambridge. So I think it was win-win-win for all sides. But yeah, the learning is still that we maybe sold too early from the perspective of like a normal startup in today's terms.
So simultaneously, you joined Martinus, and you mentioned that you joined as a coder. Could you kind of walk us through the transformation from like joining a company to leading the company?
Yeah, I think it's connected to especially those two guys, Miro and Jožo Santos, who founded Martinus actually in 1990, which was, I was like 5 years old back then, and I always remembered Martinus as a really famous bookstore in Martin. And I joined them in 2000, a few weeks after we started Referati, and they gave me a job as a coder. My first salary was a scanner, and in next half year it was ink printer. And I was super happy because any money I would get, I would spend it to pay for those gadgets. And as we were learning a lot, really, there were not that many e-shops back in 2000 in Slovakia. So we made so many mistakes, but we had a luxury of time, frankly. So we could afford to make those mistakes because there was not like dozens of bookstores going after our customers. And so we had a freedom to try so many different things, freedom of not being under too much pressure from the maybe competition. And that's why I didn't, after some time, I didn't just code what maybe Miro said, but I was getting into it. I was really enjoying doing what I was doing. And so sometimes he imagined some feature, and I finished or expanded the idea. And I sort of liked it, that I could create or co-create the whole project. So after some time, I tried to do some marketing things and so on. And another thing was that one of the founders, Miro Santos, was getting quite seriously ill. And after all, he passed away in 2008. So that's why I sort of naturally grew into role of sort of leading growing company. When he died, we were a company of like less than 10 people, I think. I was just finishing the school, and it was just natural for me that it was a project I was already involved for in like 7 years already, and I was enjoying it. So I decided with the other founder that I might continue, and they offered me partnership in the company, and yeah, that's why I'm here until now, I guess.
Do you still remember what was the vision of Martinus back then? What was the main vision?
Yeah, I think it was nothing like huge in terms of vision, how they are set up today. But I always remember Miro Santos saying that he wanted to create a bookstore with like a human face, human touch, internet online store with human touch, and also to create it so in a way that even your mother-in-law could use it. Back then, when he was explaining to me this thing, I wasn't really sure what mother-in-law in Slovak language, svokra, what does it mean? Then I knew, but what he meant was that let's try to make it as simple that even if I sit your mother here, who has never used a computer before, she could be able to order a book. So I wouldn't put it as a huge vision that we would put on a posters in the company, but yeah, that was the founding idea of being human as much as possible and being as easy as possible.
Has it changed since?
No, I just think it grew into something even more and into more stronger belief into those values. One of our three core values actually is like humanity or human touch. The other two are like passion for what we do and the books. And we started the booksellers, and we feel like booksellers until today. And the third value is wow, like just create wow moments for the customers and for ourselves as well.
So now Martinus is a considerably large company in Slovakia. I mean, how could you tell us more about your current status? How big are you? And how many stores you have?
Yeah, I think this year we will go close to 25 million euros in revenue altogether. We have internet bookstore in Slovakia and Czech Republic, and 9 physical bookstores in Slovakia, and in 4 of those is a cafe like this, so Foxford. And we also have a division for ebooks, and I think we are like we have 70 to 80% of the Slovak ebook market now, which is like peanuts, frankly. So it's not that hard to have a huge percentage of our share of the small market. But
so the revenue comes more from like offline stores, or what is the ratio?
Today it's like 60% is online, still online. Was like 95% online 7 years ago, and then we started opening brick and mortars, and now they go up to 40% of our revenue. And I think in years to come, maybe 2-3 years, it might be even. So it would be like 50-50 online and offline, like truly omni-channel thing.
Speaking more about, I would say, regional impact, what are the plans with Martinus?
If you're asking about our like expansion to abroad, I don't think we abandoned like forever this idea, but for now we don't see any space of expanding to another countries than Slovakia and Czech Republic. So we want to focus on strengthening our share in Slovakia, and especially in Czech Republic, because back there we are quite small still, but growing really nicely. And books is quite a difficult market, actually, because you have so many different publishers. It's super local. Even Slovak books don't get sold in Czech Republic, not even saying about some in Austria or somewhere else. And that's maybe the reason why we don't have Amazon and likes like this here anyway. And there are no like huge international book selling kind of companies, not even that many publishers. Maybe there are huge publishing houses in English speaking countries, but still that's advantage and disadvantage for us. Advantage is that there is not huge competition from abroad. Disadvantage is that we ourselves cannot beat that kind of competition in abroad markets, because the market is quite saturated all over the place.
You mentioned Foxford. Now it's really becoming like part of Martinus, like it's combined space. It started a couple of years ago. It was first just the bookstores. What is the idea behind combining these coffee stores and bookstores?
Of course, this idea isn't like worldwide new. It's been in use for many years in USA and UK and all over the world, actually. But we here in Slovakia, still like 5 to 7 years ago, it was not that common. Pantere already had some cafes, but when Stur came to market, and we were 5 years ago opening a bookstore in Obchodna Street here, we asked them whether they wanted to be a strategic partner for us and come open a bookstore with cafe there. It has proven a huge success. Then we opened this one. Then Stur came into some problems. They split up with the partners. That's why we decided to start or continue with our own venture, which is this Foxford thing, with one of the original founders of Stur. And we look at it as a huge strategic advantage for us, because for the bookstores of future, we think it will be combination of books and coffee and food and maybe events like this. So bookstores of future will be places where people meet, exchange ideas, laugh, buy books, and just go for a good time, work. Places where people live and ideas live. And cafe in combination with this plays really well in this.
Maybe from a more business perspective, has it increased sales?
Yes, it does increase sales. We have some models. We know some numbers. Of course, there is no A/B testing in the real world, like true A/B testing, which all of us geeks don't really like. But we have some numbers that show that it does increase the sales of the bookstores itself. The cafe part itself is really tough. It's tough business, and we are looking at it as a symbiotic effort from both sides. So people come to bookstore and then grab some coffee, and people come to coffee house and then maybe buy some books, and it attracts more people, so more people buy more books and cafe and cakes.
If you should say maybe one or two biggest fuck-ups with either Martinus or Foxford.
Well, I think one of the ones that I remember the most is our bookstore in Žilina, which I internally to myself call my MBA, because it costed like MBA 2 times. And it was our third physical bookstore, and we really wanted to open it, like really bad, because we let emotions to go over Excel tables. So we didn't do our calculations properly, and it was like, okay, you might take a bigger like floor space. Yes, let's do that. Yeah, but the space is a little more expensive. Yeah, let's do that. And then the reality came, and we were not close to bankruptcy or anything like that, but all of a sudden we fell from really like comfort place in terms of profitability to several months of really like sweaty nights and not sleeping and just trying to get out of it. I wouldn't change it for anything because it was one of my best lessons. And thanks to this lesson, we were able to manage really good deals on all our next bookstores because we knew what not to do. You just cannot be led by emotions in this. Like they shouldn't be the main driver in decisions like this, and we didn't know that until then.
Do you have any more? I mean, these are the best learnings also for the people who are listening.
Yeah. We have one more, I guess, is Foxford Laurinska, which we closed almost a year ago, which was cafe on Laurinska Street, which we opened in 2014 as a mainly as a cafe. It had a bookstore part, but there were just books about food and drinks. We wanted to test the concept of a bookstore that would be specialized in just some topic. And yeah, we found out that even though we really love doing great service to people, it's not really that easy to attract in short term, in a short period of time, enough people who would share your vision and drive, especially in gastro sector. And also, frankly, we underestimated how badly like screwed really this gastro business is. That most pubs and restaurants and so on pay in black cash. They have like dual cash registers that they don't pay VAT and so on. And so if you want to be competitive in this kind of market situation, you are not going to make it. So, well, I guess there are some brighter people than we are, and they are doing it clean and they are successful. I believe that, but majority is not doing it that way. So combined with our inexperience, we had a drive. We thought we have some experience that we could pass on from retail, but it wasn't that much as we might have thought before. And again, it was a great lesson for us that it didn't go that well, like financially wise or business wise as well. So we decided to close it and to concentrate on bookstores and cafes and expand cafes, but only within bookstores, because there is the synergy effect that was missing actually on Laurinska Street. So yeah, that was quite recent. We just closed less than a year ago, but again, a really good lesson.
What is it like to work for your company? What is the company culture like?
Oh, I think you should be asking somebody else. But for many years, we've been run as a family company. And truly it was to big extent family company, because the founders were brothers and their daughters were working in the bookstore. And then I joined them. We are from Martin, we know each other. And then my wife is working at the company. My cousin is leading the Czech e-shop for us. So in some ways, it's still family-run business. On the other hand, it's close to 400 people already. And of course, I don't know all of them anymore, not even by name. I just don't recognize some faces. I'm really ashamed of me, but well, I'm just not that good at it. And but we are trying to. I think what most companies of our size and growth story go through is that you want to keep as much startup drive, and I wouldn't dare to call ourselves startup after 15 years anymore. But the startup drive, you want to have that. You also want to have family feeling. But on the other hand, when you are managing 400 people, you already have to have some system in place. So we're trying to jungle it somehow. And sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we do things differently, and they work out. But overall, we just trying to have like a culture where it's more important how things are done than what exactly is done in terms of, for example, if you would ask me what is our revenue plan in 5 years, I frankly cannot tell you. But I can tell you that I want to know that in 5 years we'll be doing it the best way possible, the best way we can. So how is many times more important for us than what exactly. And that's why how we are trying to choose people to us. So I think, I'm not really sure who said it, but the culture, company culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I think Szymon Szycko is really a huge fan of this quote. And I totally agree that you should just hire people for their attitude, for their drive, for what they really are, and not exactly what they can do at the moment you are hiring them. Of course, if they are experts, that's best for both sides. But I don't think we already took some experts that were really good at what they were doing, but they were not culture fit, and it just didn't work out, and we had to say goodbye to each other. So.
All right, so you mentioned that you have actually 400 employees, so that leads to another question. What was harder, starting with a smaller team or scaling it up to 400 people? So there are two different worlds.
Yes, I think we were lucky, but not something that it would be like visionary or something, but I think we were lucky enough that we were doing those transformation work that's necessary when you are going from a small to medium company, well ahead of time in terms of we were doing it at a time that it was not necessary already or beyond the point of being really necessary. So, for example, the company structure we started doing from scratch when we were a team of like 25 or 30 people. And we knew that we would hit the limits of the current state when we would be like 50 people. But we were already drawing it to, so it could grow to 100 or 150 people. And then we tried to repeat the same thing. So we tried to make preparations a little more ahead of time. And that's why I think that we were not harmed that much by growing between these phases. And also, I think really important thing for us was that we were not growing too fast. We never had investor money, and I don't have anything against investor money. I'm just trying to show what are advantages of not having it. Is that we were not expanding, like opening 5 new bookstores every year and gaining 30% more people every year. Because as I see it, when 10 people come to a company of 100 people, they will blend in, or they will get kicked out by the culture of the company itself. But if you let 50 people into company of 100, it's a good chance that you will not manage it well enough, and they will corrupt the culture and the atmosphere. And that's the price of growing too fast when it's not managed that well.
Right. Among your other projects is also Dibuk. Could you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, it's actually just a company that's taking care of ebooks for us. It's a separate company because we wanted to position it as a company that would be a digital hub for the publishers, no matter where they would want to like sell their ebooks. So actually, Martinus is a customer of Dibuk formally, but we run it in many ways in coordination because that way we can sell promote the ebooks the most. So yeah, that's just some a spin-off company from Martinus.
You're also involved a lot in the startup community here in Slovakia. You are somewhat involved also with the local venture capital fund, New Lodge Ventures. Could you tell us a bit more about your involvement in startup community, also in the investment community?
Yeah, well, Bratislava is small. I think everybody knows each other, and I'm really glad that the startup movement and the community started already quite many years ago already. When I think about it, and I'm glad that we could be a part of it. It's not that hard. I mean, it's several hundred people here that would be involved. So yeah, I try to help with my little bit with starting spot, with some mentoring, with some speeches and workshops and so on, and yeah. So, but I think I'm just doing my little bit as many other people here are, and so altogether we are trying to lift off somehow this startup ecosystem here.
You're also part of the group called SAPIE. For those who don't know, could you tell us a bit more about what is their goal and mission?
It's Slovak Alliance for Innovative Economy. It was founded by likes of Google and Asset, and I think like some 2 years ago. And we're trying to foster a startup ecosystem and scale-up ecosystem here in Slovakia, foster innovation in cooperation with universities, and also we'd love to help to enhance education here. So those are like 3 key priorities for SAPIE, and we are cooperating with some state or government institutions as well. And one of the things we are the most proud of is this simple
joint stock.
Yeah, joint stock company, which is jednoduchá akciová spoločnosť, which is about to come in action next year, I think. And it should be like modern type of company already, thank God, in Slovakia as well. What startups really like need in structuring the company.
When you talk to entrepreneurs here in Slovakia, what do you think are the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur in Slovakia? And maybe, let's focus also on the really the pro side, because a lot of people are trying to escape this area. But at least me personally, I'm trying to say like, hey, there's something going on here, and you can actually start up here. So if you could just give us your opinion, honest opinion on this.
Well, I think one thing is what I just said, that the startup community here is rather small, but quite well connected. There is surprisingly many of events going on here, be it Impact Hub, Connect, Spot, and many more that are just emerging right here. So that's a good thing. I'm also thinking whether the size of the Slovak market is a good thing or not for a startup. I don't think there is general answer. I think for some startups it might be really nice because you have really fast feedback from the customer, but it's also really limited. I mean, you don't have that many companies usually operating in your specific area, especially if you're a niche kind of startup. And the proximity to Vienna and this all maybe Danube Valley, what is Rasto Kulik's really pet project, and something that we should talk about, I think, as a community as well, to connecting Budapest and Vienna and Bratislava and Brno, and exchanging cooperation, that should be really nice. And I think also in Bratislava or Slovakia, huge advantage is that people are so smart here. I mean, frankly, I think whenever you go to Silicon Valley or anywhere else, it's not that the people there would be so much smarter. It's just they operate on so bigger markets, and they're close to Stanford or something, and their mindset is different. But in terms of smartness, I think Slovak guys and programmers and entrepreneurs are really have good start with this, because we are not lazy like some kind of European nations maybe that are a little more forward. We are still a generation that has this urge to prove something to somebody, and yeah, frankly, it's something good to have as a starting entrepreneur.
What is your kind of personal life look like? What does your day look like?
Oh, it really differs, but it's changing because now I have 2.5 years old daughter, and yes, it is a huge change in the world of any human and in startup or entrepreneur or anybody. So gone are the days that I would work until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning every day, and then just wake up at 9 or 10. My alarm is now set off at 6 a.m. and it's moving. It's my daughter, and sometimes she lets us to sleep until 8. But the good thing about being an entrepreneur is that you can be sort of master of your own time. So I'm not really habitual kind of person. So most days I come to office at a little different time. And sometimes I just take home office, sometimes I work during weekends, sometimes I don't. It's not really some ordinary day I could describe here. And that's what I like about it. I don't think I could be working 9 to 5 every day, clock in, clock out. And I also think I wouldn't be able to just block out the work after 5 or something like that. I think if there are entrepreneurs here or startups, I think it's just like being in love. I mean, you cannot turn it off. You just think about it all the time. So,
Free time. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
I like to run. I'd like to run more. I like to read, obviously. And yeah, spending some time with my daughter is really enhancing thing in life. Sometimes it's it's getting crazy, and I would just want to run away when she starts to scream and not wanting to do something. But it's more than overweighted by the moments that she's just super cute, and we are learning together and reading, and yeah, it's getting a whole new level to the life. So yeah, then, I would call that hobby, quite important one, and not in terms of like hobby, but I'm quite enjoying it many times.
As an entrepreneur, definitely full of ideas. What would be if there wouldn't be Martinus? What would there be?
That's a good question. I'm asking myself sometimes. Most of times I don't have any answer. I just know that it would probably be something with creating something, creating some kind of value or something that people will be using. I'm coming to thinking that it wouldn't be B2B. It would have to be something B2C, so something that actually real people would use. I'm not really good businessman in terms of doing deals and selling the product. I really enjoy creating product that sells itself. I love marketing. I love doing the campaigns and co-creating it and so on. But I don't think I would be able to do a company that would be based on knocking on the door and knowing the right people and pushing our product to some places. So I think it would be definitely connected to computers or to internet or digital media or something like that. But frankly, many times I think that book selling and online book selling and physical bookstores and so on is just jackpot for me. It's hitting technology, it's hitting retail, it's hitting contact with real customers and seeing their happy eyes when you do something good for them, and it's connecting books, which is like frankly I think that it's not just some goods, something that you sell in Tesco or anywhere else, but I think books can really change somebody's life, and I know it firsthand because I bought my first book about programming in Martinus. I spent like 600 crowns on that, but it literally changed my life. 2 months after I bought it, I got a job at the Martinus, and that book is one of the huge reasons why I'm sitting here.
It's pretty amazing. All right, guys. Now we're gonna turn to your questions from the audience. So what's up there? Would you? Yeah, that's interesting. Would you sell to Amazon or such giants?
Yeah, in some conditions, I think there are some value or some conditions, just like we had situation with Referati, that the right time, the right offer came, and it made sense for us. Of course, it was our baby. It was not nice to look at it, not maybe developing the way we would imagine if we were doing it more and more. But yeah, we are not actively looking for investor or for exit, so it would have to be like offer that you cannot refuse, sort of. But I wouldn't be saying here that like never or something like that, because I mean even selling your like huge thing that's something for you could open door and possibilities for a new one, just like happened to me already before. So I'm not saying definitely no, but if we don't sell for the next 20 years, I'm super happy. And if Lily would one day want to go and work for the company and maybe manage it somehow, I would be more than happy. So.
How difficult or easy was it the move from chemistry and biology to coding? Do you think that someone needs to be a programmer to create a successful startup?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll start with the second one. I think it helps a lot if you can code, or not really like code like super coder. I programmed Martinus until like 2010 maybe, And until today, there are moments that our team of programmers, they don't give me passwords anymore, so I cannot touch it, luckily. But until today, there are moments that they want to tear their hair off on the way how it was written. So it was really like really bad code. But what helped me a lot was that I can think as a programmer. And I think in many ways I can think that way, which helps a lot with communication with your coders. And I think it can help a lot in a way how you think in a real world. So yeah, I don't think it's like completely necessary because you can have another super skills that can overcome it, but it's helpful. And moving from chemistry and biology to coding, I started coding as a amateur, as a hobbyist, when there was Internet Explorer 1.0. I got it on one floppy drive, and it was not supporting tables, and I only found it out maybe a month later, after countless tries and efforts, that it will be only supported in 2.0, and I was already reading some articles that was saying about it, and so on. So I was just I was fascinated by internet and how those web pages and so are created. So the only thing I wanted to do was replicate it. I wanted to create guest book of my own. I wanted to create a website for myself. I wanted to create a website for my school. And for that, I needed tools, and those tools were just coding. It was PHP for me. And then I was always curious. So actually, I would go with the index of all functions that were in PHP 3.0, and I would try to think about use for every single one of them. So that's why that's how I work many of times. That not that I would know what to do, but I have some tool in my hand, and I'm thinking, okay, what could I do with it? Actually, Referati was founded like that. I was starting to programming, and I was like, okay, but what could be my first application? Oh, I had this problem with essays and so on. Okay, so let's just make some database where I could search and categorize it and so on. So.
If you could have changed one thing from the startup phase of your business, what would it have been?
I'm not really sure I can say anything. Nothing in particular that I could think of that would be worth mentioning, because all the mistakes all the things that we did wrong and well are great lessons, and I think it's just huge jigsaw, and it just comes together, and after sometimes it's starting to create some kind of picture, and you need all those pieces to create that picture. So. Sorry for not answering
Fair
the
enough.
question, but
Who's been your biggest influencer, and who you know personally, and who's your biggest influencer you have not actually met or known?
okay. I think one of my biggest influencers in business business perspective was actually Miro Santos, who I thank to many of things that how we do it now, how I look at the things, is thanks to the fact that I was so lucky that I could spend so many years with him and on his side, and of course my parents. It sounds like cliche, but I think what can parents give you is like the most treasurable thing in life. And also I'm really proud that I'm from the same country and I can know people like Šimon Šicko, Peťo Komorník from Slido, which is so huge inspiration for me because I know the story of the Slido or Instando was their very first product, I think, on a startup weekend. So I know how many times they pivoted, how many times it looked like it's crap, and now we are using their product, and it's just small event here. So yeah, him and Misho Truban. For me, I still remember the first time we met, and we were like, "Yeah, man, I'm afraid of you because you look like I don't know, but we we share so many things and views on the world and the business, and many times he's a huge inspiration for me as well. And from the people I have not actually met, I don't have one like idol. I have people that that I've read, for example, biographies. Like Steve Jobs is a huge inspiration in some ways, huge uninspiration, or how would you say that in other ways? Tony Shia from Zappos, and yeah, I guess many people like this. Even Elon Musk is in many ways like super amazing guy, and again, it somehow it's like that. If somebody is super genius, it has to have some really weird side of him. But yeah, it's nice to look at their genius side.
And let's do two more. You mentioned the human culture. What were some concrete steps you took in the start to build it? What do you do now for Martinus not to become too relaxed?
Okay, so I touched it a little when I was saying that when we look at it back, I think the fact that we didn't grow too fast was essential in this. Because if you really believe in what you are doing, and you can inscript this feeling into your first employees, and then take on another one, you all together inscript it in new ones. So the culture isn't something that you write down on the paper. It isn't something that you create before forming the company. I think the culture is just everyday work at the company. The culture is anything you do, how you do it, when you do it, with whom you do it, how you react. That is culture. Then you can use words to describe it. Then you can use words or some workshops to enhance it or inscript it even more in people. But leading by example, and not just other leaders, but I think any employee of any company is creating a culture, and it's something that's evolving. Nowadays, yes, we have, it's called Sprievodca Martinusa. It's a handbook that we are giving out to the customers. We just made it public a few weeks ago, and many things from our culture are written there. So the new member of the team can hop on more fastly. But yeah.
There's also the second part. So what do you do?
Not to become too relaxed.
Yeah. Those KPIs, right?
Yeah. We don't use KPIs. Actually, if I tell you that we are right now working on our first financial plan ever, I think that's saying something. I'm not daring to say whether good or bad. But I think it again starts with the people you choose to your team. And not just the closest people, but also the people who work with them in their teams. Because sometimes I feel that we have a culture that is quite demanding, but not demanding in a way that we would stand above the people and saying, if you don't do this, this will happen. Actually, we don't have like huge bonuses for hitting the targets, mainly because we don't have many targets set. What I see that sometimes I even have to, or we have to cool ourselves down in expectations from ourselves. So I don't think that relaxed thing is the problem we would be facing now. So currently, I think it's more of a overheating problem, and not from the like huge boss just screaming at the people, but from people doing great job, and next year they want to like just overcome themselves and do it even better. And it can be really, if not managed well, it can be as damaging, I think, as lazy people, because then you can burn out. So.
Since we're running out of time, let's do one more. Okay, I think that where does the future last period, I think we kind of answered that.
I just-
Okay, let's look at Andre's question. Being an entrepreneur, how business is impacting your private life? Are you having some rules or times when focus only on family or is it natural?
Yeah, that's part I'm really struggling with sometimes. Sometimes it goes really well, but sometimes and like I know I should be spending time with the family and not writing some emails or working late night on something, but I still can get to flow state, and I miss it many times. I mean, I just love being in the flow and when time flies. And yeah, I think it's kind of little addiction or drug for any entrepreneur or any creative person. But on the other hand, I'm trying really hard to realize and remind myself that there are even at least equally important and probably more important things in life than yeah, doing what you are doing at the very moment. Definitely there are more important things, and I'm trying to remind it to myself before I will get reminded by some external thing. So sometimes I'm forgetting, and in those moments I'm really grateful for people who can remind me of that. I'm struggling sometimes.
All right, guys. So time is up. Thank you again for sharing these great stories with you.
Thank you
with
and
us
for the questions.
with everyone. So this is it. Now we have 1 extra hour. You can get to know each other. You can talk to Michal as well. There's some sandwiches and refreshments ready. So yeah, big round of applause. Thanks.
Thank you very much.